Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for June 16th, 2021. Before I begin, I have to read an opening statement, and it goes as follows. I have confirmed with the ZBA Council that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the Open Meetings Law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing, and such Governor's Order 202.110, which extends such suspension until July 5th, 2021. As such, there is no in-person meeting for the ZBA, and the meeting is being conducted via Zoom video conferencing. In accordance with these executive orders, the public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's public meeting via Zoom or to watch a live stream of the meeting on the town's webpage. In further accordance with the executive order, a transcript will be made at a later date. This meeting's agenda has been duly noticed on the town's webpage, which notice was accompanied by information as to how to access and view this meeting. And with that, I will open up the meeting, and the first order of business is a review of the meeting minutes for the last meeting, which was May 19th.
With the recording for the transcripts and records, you want to just do a quick roll call, make sure you have a quorum?
Sure, okay. Before I do that, all right, Tim Allenbrook?
Here.
Tim Econopoli?
Here.
Catherine Clark? You're muted, Catherine.
Here.
And I am present as well. So we have enough, we have a quorum. And with that, I'll go to the first order of business, which is to review and approve the minutes of the May meeting, which was on May 19th, 2021. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at the meeting minutes?
Yes.
I did. Okay. Yep. Any corrections, concerns, or comments? Okay, not hearing any, I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes as presented for May 19th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, that's Catherine Clark. And I'll do another roll call. Tim Allenbrook?
Yep.
Tim Econopoli?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
And yes, myself, so approved. All right, we do not have any new business, but we do have 4 public hearings. And the first public hearing is actually a continuation of the public meeting of May 19th, and it's in the case of Whitman. So Catherine, I see you're present. Can you present the application that you have before us? And I know we asked for you for some additional information, principally regarding vegetation and screening. So if you could go through that and maybe just as an overview, go through the project.
Sure. For the overview, the project requires variances for the front yard setback, both of the side yard setbacks. It's because it's rebuilding in the location of a previous house, rebuilding a similar footprint, but 2 stories rather than the 1 story of the previous house, and shifting the building closer to the south property line. And during the last public hearing, it was asked that I present a landscape plan showing privacy screening between the proposed house and the house to the south. And you can see here a fence, proposed fence, running from the front of the house to the end of the property line, which would cover the same area where the neighbor's house is, and that neighbor's house is roughly shown. We didn't have a survey, but we used parcel access to get the approximate location of the neighbor's house and include it on the drawing. We also had an elevation showing the 6-foot high fence and then growing right up along the fence, horn beam, which can get 25 to 35 feet high. And the bulk of it would be above the height of the top of the fence. So the fence would provide screening below, and then the horn beam would give a height to the screening.
Okay, so if I'm reading this right, it looks like the fence essentially goes along the southern line of the property line. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and the plants that you're going to be putting in, I know they can get to a certain height. I don't know anything about plants, so forgive my ignorance. But what will be the size of the plants when they're first planted, and how fast do they grow?
That's difficult to say. I reached out to a nursery to find out what height they could be purchased at, and I didn't hear back yet. I'm assuming they could start out around with the trunk roughly 6 to 7 feet high, and then the leafed out part a couple of feet above that. I'm guessing you can buy them at between 7 and 9 feet as a starting plant. But I wasn't able to get that information yet.
What kind of growing does it do? I mean, does it grow a foot a year or something or other? How long does it take to get to?
Not sure. I know they're relatively fast growing.
Scott, I did look that up today, just I was curious about it too. And it
Oh,
says,
okay,
depending on the conditions, they can grow a foot to 2 feet a year.
okay.
So they're fairly fast growing.
The fence that's shown in the additional information you provided, and maybe Kim, can you, I think it's the next, there, right there.
Mhm.
That's the fence that's going to be put in place.
Yep, I was proposing 2x2 cedar slats with a space between them.
Okay. All right. Do any of the board members have any questions about the additional information that was provided to us?
Yeah, how far is the fence off the property line? I'm sorry, I didn't see that on the,
I had it right on the property line.
you have it right on the property line. And then
Yeah.
the growth is on your side of the fence? or-
Yes, the plants are inboard, but the fence right on the property line.
Yeah, there's not much there right now. Catherine and I were out there on Monday, and there's just kind of some kind of low level brush or whatever. So that'll be significantly better as far as screening and that kind of stuff, compared to what is there right now. I know that there was a neighbor, and I think his name was Mr. Del Borgo. Is Mr. Del Borgo here, or anybody else from the public who would like to ask Catherine some questions about this application?
Yeah, I am here with my wife,
Hi.
Muzayan.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
Do you guys have questions, concerns, or whatever that you want to address
Yeah,
to?
we're just wondering, we love the fencing, it's really nice. We're just wondering about the vertical spacing of the slats. So I know it says on the in the drawings that it's 2-inch slats, but if we can specify the spacing between them, it shows like a quite thin spacing here. Is this like 1 inch or 1.5 inch?
It's 1 inch.
Okay, so and we wanted to know what the finish of the slats would be.
I'm thinking of staining it black, just as is shown in this photograph.
Okay. I think in the photo it's like maybe a darkish gray or brown, and we're just concerned that if it's black, maybe it would reflect too much heat on our property since it's like pretty close to our house. That's
Mhm.
just a consideration. So if it can be something lighter, I know it's like it could get super dirty also. So
Mhm.
just like thinking about that would be so for us it's just like finding out more about the spacing as well as the finish, and with the consideration of the heat aspect. And it would be great to know the caliper that the trees would be planted at, just so we can know how much screening, because the hornbeams, they're semi-evergreen, they're very beautiful, but just so we can know what to anticipate in terms of like blocking the second story of the house.
Catherine, are you in a position to, Catherine Whitman, are you in a position to answer any of those questions?
The spacing I answered at 1
Yeah.
inch. I'm open to doing a clear finish on the fencing as well. I would like it to, I'd like to have the freedom of color choice left until the house is built so we can make sure it goes with the final siding selection. And in terms of the caliper of the tree, I don't have the, like, I really don't know what would be available when we're ready to plant, what we'd be able to get, and we would do our best to get something mature that would still take to the new location. But I don't have any information yet on how big they sell it.
Do you guys have copies of the additional information that was provided to the board?
We
Do you
have
have-
the drawings that we're
Okay,
showing on the plan. Usually when I think when you're ordering such a large number of trees, you have to order them in advance. Like you can't in the same season say I need, I don't know how many these are, like 10, or it's very hard to find the same height, and so maybe like you might have to order in advance, and then you could guarantee more the height and the caliper size of it.
Mhm.
So if we could just have more information on that, and I'm sure the color choice is going to be very nice, but also it would be great to know what it is just from our end. It would be fabulous to know that, but we're very happy that we have such a tasteful neighbor.
and I'll tell you, as I wrote a resolution up, and which we'll probably deal with later on this evening. But I will tell you that the resolution will be very specific and make it clear that this exact plan has to be put in place as part of the any variance granting. So you can be assured that what has been presented to us, the size, the shape, et cetera, has to be put in place, and also the trees and the spacing of them, everything else. Everything has to be in conformity with the plans that have been presented to us. That's a condition.
Just because they're not specified in writing, but I guess okay.
I thought it was, and it may be on this slide itself, although it's very small.
The spacing of them is specified.
Yeah,
Didn't you specify the spacing, which then would determine how many trees would be there? The caliper is not specified.
Kim, can you make that bigger maybe, just so we can get the top section? Because I think that's where the language that shows the number of trees maybe. Okay. So yeah, kind of go, I'd say, yeah, there you go. So they're going to be spaced 7 to 10 feet apart.
Yeah, like usually it's hard to know if the trees are like really drawn at 7 feet wide or whatever, and it's hard to also get them. I mean, they would be quite expensive at 15 feet high. I mean, if that's what they're doing, that would be amazing. But usually they're planted a bit lower. So like that's like an additional layer of information that if we can get it in the next meeting minutes or something, it would be awesome. As well as the spacing of the slats for the fence.
Yeah. Well, I think that maybe that's something that can be a continuing conversation between you and Catherine. But at a minimum, you're going to have initially a 6-foot fence. And then it's, after that, it may take some time for the plants to, get above the fence and then give you more screening, in particular screening of the second story of the structure. But
I think we're fine with the whole, the general nature of this. It's just like, if it at least reflects the intent to purchase trees that are at least as high as the fence, as was mentioned, like between 7 and 9 feet in height, or even 6 to 8 feet. But just so we know that it doesn't suddenly change to a 2-foot tree because that's the only thing they could get. There's some kind of assurance that like the spirit of it is essentially reflected that way, then we're fine. We're not going to be nitpicky about the exact height. We just want some kind of assurance that it doesn't take 5 years to reach the top of the fence. That's all.
Catherine, I assume you can give that assurance? You'll do your
Yes.
best to,
Mm-hmm.
assuming it can be done?
Yep.
Thank you. And then the only other thing is, I'm assuming from this conversation that the variance is granted to, I think it was 8 feet more, the house being closer. Was that than the existing footprint of the previous house?
Well, you're going to have to stay tuned for,
Okay.
maybe, maybe not. Maybe
Okay.
it's something less.
I'm in suspense.
But no, I don't mean to be coy, but we'll have a discussion at the end of this. We do have some other matters on, and we kind of did. So we'll deal with this public hearing, and then the resolution will be read later on in the evening. And feel free to stay, and the board will have a discussion, and we'll agree on a resolution. So.
What's shown in the plan is the 8-foot extra, right?
Correct. But that doesn't mean that we have to grant the 8-foot. We could grant something else or not grant it at all, and just keep it in the same place, where the prior structure was.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's different ways, and I will tell you, I was on site on Monday, as was Catherine.
Okay.
So we'll have that discussion.
Will you share the meeting minutes with us?
You can get anything you like from Chris Hedges, who is our zoning board clerk, and she's fantastic and very responsive. So you can get anything you like, it's public record. But we will be reading a resolution later on this evening about this application.
And also, just so you know, the video itself will be posted Fred can kind of provide a little bit more information, but the minutes that are recorded, so this actual Zoom meeting will also be posted and available to view at a later date as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we don't have any further problems or questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Does any of the board members have any questions, concerns with regard to this application? And is there anybody else in the audience who has any question or concern about this? Okay, well, thank you, Catherine, for giving us the additional information, and thank you for staking out where the original structure was, as well as where the proposed structure would be. And since I haven't heard anything from anybody else, I will make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and that's Catherine Clark. And Tim Allenbrook.
Yeah.
Tim Econopoli.
Yes.
Okay, Catherine?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, so Catherine Whitman, the public hearing is closed. Normally, we would do a resolution at the next meeting, but I think we discussed that we will have one ready for you this evening. So we do have some other matters we have to go through, and you're free to hang around, but it's going to be a while, but we'll do the resolution later on, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next matter that is on is the Shapiro case. Is there anybody here for the Shapiro case?
Hello, my name's Eli Sands with Wagner Hodgson Landscape Architecture.
Hello, Eli.
Hi, I'm working with Lisa and Michael Shapiro and also Stephen O'Brien from the Jane Pools.
And I'm
Okay.
here, Lisa Shapiro is here.
Okay, hi, Lisa. All right, so again, if you could just briefly go through the application, and if there's anybody here, I think most of the questions were actually answered the last time around, and there was an agreement between the parties about maybe some additional changes, and that was nice to see. But if you could just, Eli, just take us through, briefly, the application and the final proposal.
Absolutely. So just a quick background on the application. The property is at 57 Upper Hook Road. The project we are proposing is a discrete lap pool on the sort of north side of the house that will be built into an existing slope. This location was chosen for a variety of reasons. One, it was sort of the most usable space within the property without removing some already existing beautiful gardens. Two, the space right now was in good proximity to the house. So that was why this area was chosen. The pool itself is a discrete lap pool, and we're using a wall to create a pool barrier that will be matching in aesthetic with the existing stone walls on site with a blue stone veneer or natural stone veneer. Since the last public meeting, we received some comments from the planning board and the ZBA, and as well as some neighbors, and we were really thankful to get those comments, and we thought they were all really good. And so we have incorporated those comments into this drawing. Firstly, from the neighbors, we received comments that they would have liked to have our pool fence enclose all the mechanical equipment, including the propane tanks, which you can see we've now done on this drawing. And secondly, they wanted us to enhance the planted screen on the north side of the pool. And we've done that by changing out the original, I believe it was bottle brush or clethra with a spirea, which is a larger growing shrub. And it's also more vigorous growing, and it has beautiful white flowers. We've additionally drawn in 2 layers of understory plantings that sort of fill in the windows and the existing understory. These would be rhododendrons and some mountain laurel. And so we've added 3 layers of protection from the pool to the neighbor's house. Additionally, we've added some comments regarding the other vegetation that we're proposing, indicating that the evergreen trees that are going to go in along the driveway screen are going to be Norway spruces between 10 and 14 feet in height, as well as highlighting the hornbeam hedge that we're going to be proposing around the pool equipment on the interior side for screening for our client. The other comment we got was from the planning board. They had noticed that we had a fence on top of our pool wall. If you go to our L200 sheet. So here, where we had the fence directly on top of the pool wall, we had an excess of 6 feet in certain locations that are highlighted in blue on this plan. This required an additional variance, which we brought up at the last meeting. And it was discussed that if we can just highlight where those areas are that are in need of that area variance, that would be enough. So what we're indicating now in this plan is we're showing those areas that are above 6 feet in total height, as well as giving top of fence heights and top of wall heights as well. So it should, hopefully that brings enough clarity to the areas where we'll be requiring this variance. Areas that are fence that is not highlighted in blue would be 6 feet or less.
Okay.
And the last additional comment we also got from the planning board, which we changed from the sheet, was on the lighting plan. That we were asked to indicate on our drawing that the lights that would be in the future trees would be no higher than 15 feet. And so we're just making a note saying that they will not be hung higher than 15 feet.
Okay.
Um,
Anybody here from the, I'm sorry.
oh no, I just have a couple of questions about.
Okay.
about the plantings.
Mhm.
Kim, could you go back to the new planting schematic? Yeah, there it is. And on the northern side, if you could enlarge that a little bit. So do the spirea then go all the way along the fence and then they come around the corner? So the spirea are also on that edge of the pool, the northern edge of the pool?
Correct.
Okay. And then on the mountain laurel, I'm not real familiar with those. Are those small trees? Are they shrubs?
There are large, medium-sized shrub that grows in understories. They
Okay.
have a really nice flower in the spring. And we find them to be, they're relatively slow growing. That's why we're specifying that they come in at a pre-bought height. So they'll already start screening.
And then I know last time when we talked about the plantings and you had said, well, some things you were worried about deer damage, which is certainly reasonable around here.
Mhm.
You don't have any concerns about the rhododendron being gnawed to death?
There's a potential. There's always going to be a potential for deer damage with rhododendrons. That specific rhododendron maximum, we have found to have some more success than others without getting nibbled on the deer. That being said, we actually have done work on the property already to try and minimize deer traffic through it. So hopefully we'll resolve some of that, but just kind of have to keep our fingers crossed, unfortunately, on that one.
Okay, it looks very nice. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I don't have any other questions, Scott.
Okay, any other questions from the board members, or is there anybody here from the public who would like to ask some questions?
I do have a question.
Okay, Tim.
Eli, this plan isn't the original plan, correct?
By the original plan, you mean the one that we had submitted to the ZBA originally?
Yeah.
Correct. This is a revised one that we have done.
Revised number of this, what revision is this?
This would be our first and only revision. I thought I had a date on there, but I guess not. It would be, I guess the date would be, I would have dated it today, 6/16. Apologies.
6/16?
Yeah, Tim, on the plans, it says its date is February 17th. So
Yeah,
it
that's what I
wasn't
saw.
out.
I put that in the my resolution.
What we
but-
can do, Tim, is that if you would like, we can always add a note to the resolution that you have drafted that references to the plans are attached. We can attach these particular plans to the resolution so there's no
Okay.
questions about it.
So, but in my resolution, I should read it as revision 6/16/2021 and attach that revision. Is that what you're saying? Or
Well, I would actually, because it's not dated today on the plans that were submitted. So,
yeah.
we can say was received on, I don't know what day it was received on, but we can make reference that it was received on such and such date, and it's attached to the resolution.
Apologies for that, Tim.
No, don't worry about that. So do you, okay, what date do we want to use? I guess that's the question.
I don't remember when it was received.
Chris probably has the answer to that when it was.
I sent all the drawings on the 1st to Chris,
Okay.
the revised ones.
So we can say was the drawings received on June 1st,
Okay.
attached for reference to
Okay.
this resolution.
Or if you want to fling a little legalese, you can say on or about.
That's true. We'll look at the time date stamp on the email.
Yeah, that's right. And Chris can make that change, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's June 8th.
June 8th, all right.
June 8th. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, any other questions or concerns from the board members, the public, anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, go ahead, Tim.
All right, so that was seconded by Tim Econopoli. And so by your second, I assume you're in favor, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Tim Allenbrook,
Yep.
And myself, I am in favor. Okay, we are pursuant to our, the last meeting when we agreed that we would have a resolution ready. We will have a resolution ready. We just have two other matters we have to get through. So Tim has put together the resolution. We'll read it later on. And thank you for your revisions and your work with the neighbors in particular. And I want to say that again to Ms. Shapiro, that was, you know, it was nice to see everybody coming together and working this thing out so everybody's happy. It doesn't happen all the time. We're happy when it does. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, all right, so the next matter is the Baker case. Is there anybody here from the Baker, on the Baker case?
Yeah, I'm here. Matt Town from William
Matt.
Engineering. Hi. How you doing?
Okay, so this is the public hearing. I believe this is the first time on. And if you could, just, I know you explained to us previously what you wanted to do. We asked for some additional information, which was provided. And so if you can just take us through the application. And is there anybody here from the public on this application?
Yes. Lisa.
Okay, and who's that?
Lisa Kusa.
Okay.
I'm the neighbor.
Right. Okay, Ms. Kusa, I know we got your information and we're glad you're here. So what we'll have the applicant do is go through the application, and then when he is done with presenting, you can ask whatever questions, concerns that you have, as well as the board members. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, this is Jeff Baker's property at 1010 State Route 308. It's 24.5 acres in an agricultural district. Jeff wants to construct his home on the property in the location of the existing cottage, which is going to be relocated, and it's going to become an accessory structure on the property. And that's where the first variance is required, because the accessory structure is going to be closer to the road than the principal dwelling. The reason for that is Jeff wants to put his principal dwelling in the prime location on the site, which has views of the lake. There's a lot of wetland and wetland buffer on the site, but there's no disturbance to any of it. There are several other existing structures on the site that are proposed to remain. There's an existing garage that's within the side yard setback, kind of near the principal dwelling, that's going to remain. There's an agricultural shed that's close to the road in the front yard setback. That's proposed to remain. And then, of course, the accessory structure, which is going to be relocated, doing soil testing with the health department tomorrow for that, and if any's needed for the principal dwelling. Jeff also wants to construct a pole barn on the site for storage of his agricultural equipment, which he has on his where he resides currently. He wants to relocate it here. This is going to be his home, his primary dwelling, primary home. The second variance is in relation to the aggregate of all accessory structures being greater than 1,500 square feet. And that includes the existing garage, the accessory dwelling unit, and then the proposed attached garage. So that totals 2,340 square feet. So those are the two variances required. And then the pole barn and the shed in the front are considered agricultural buildings. So they're exempt from that calculation. Jeff currently has a tenant that farms the property, and part of his intention is when he moves here, he wants to farm it himself, and the tenant will no longer be working the land. So all the equipment and all the debris and trash that Lisa noted, it's all going to be removed, and Jeff is going to do the working on the land himself. So that pretty much sums it up. If there are any questions, feel free.
I know this has come up before, and so I know you made reference to trash and equipment and other things that Ms. Kusa has mentioned and submitted information on. I assume you have, since you said that was going to be taken away anyway, that you would have no problem with that being a part of the resolution. Assuming the variances were granted, you would have no problem with that being a condition.
Oh, that's fine. Jeff, his intention is to remove all that and do the work on the property himself. So
right.
Actually, Scott, what we sometimes have asked for in the past, if the applicant is willing and will volunteer to, if they can provide just a little letter for the board, just kind of stating, what Matt had just represented, that their intention is to farm it and to remove all those debris and trucks and stuff, and have his own equipment on there. Sometimes we've asked for that in the past. Again, if the applicant's willing to do it, we would certainly welcome that for the file.
Sure.
I would just think in terms of that timing would also be a part of that potential discussion and consideration. It may be that when Jeff moves on this land, he decides not to farm it. But I think the discussion would really be about having all that removed regardless of what his future farming activity is.
Right, and that's really what I was kind of getting at. Regardless, if the variance is, I mean, he's putting up a new residence and the pole barn and all that kind of stuff, and moving the house that's there. So I know he wants to do farming, but if, as Catherine said, if he doesn't do farming, what I'm really getting at is as a condition of granting these variances, regardless of whether he farms or not, there'll be a cleanup of the area. And those items will be removed, and that will be a condition of the granting.
Yeah, I think Jeff would be okay with that.
Right. Well, I mean, it's in his best interest anyway to make the place look nice.
I don't know the protocol. Do you call upon me when I make a comment?
No. Ms. Kusa, please feel free to. You have the floor at this point. Ask Matt whatever questions you have, whatever concerns you have.
Okay, great. Is Jeff on the call? He's not on the call tonight.
Not.
One of my concerns is that he responded to me that he has a tenant farmer. And one of my questions to him was, what is a tenant farmer? Do you have a lease with him, a legally binding agreement, number one? Number two, what is the term on that? His response also says that he hopes that he will farm this land, and he may not farm it. That's his prerogative. But as I'm going through, and as the pictures have been submitted, there is such a disregard for the land, and as a neighbor, and what it has done to the neighborhood is alarming. And the thought that he is going to put up more pole barns for me as well as for others, I envision that as places to hoard things, because this particular quote-unquote tenant farmer, I'm very intimate with. I have intimate knowledge of how he operates. And there have been times and I understand Jeff lives in High Park, but the 3 fields are littered with equipment, and it's a cat and mouse game, and the equipment moves. So my request is, I'm listening to somebody who wants to do beautiful improvements, pools, a new home. There's landscape planning and there's fences, because if he chooses not to farm, and he may say, I don't want to farm, that's his prerogative. The thought of having this collection, you could have the debris removed, but it can migrate back. I know it for years. And given the history that this has been going on, and Mr. Baker never once came to knock on my door to say, is this bothering you? Or I'm sorry about this. And that is dangerous, in my opinion. So if you're going to grant the variances, my request, there should be landscape planning and there should be fences, because if he wants to put up these buildings, that's his choice. But not everybody has to be subjugated to that view.
Okay. Yeah, the properties you're speaking of, Ms. Guzar, one of the properties is the property we're talking about. I believe that there are other properties too that are not the subject of this application.
That's exactly. They're 2 separate parcels, and the one migrated. Now, secondly, an existing agricultural shed, I looked at the application, I laughed. Those were all virgin fields. Whatever existing sheds are there were migrated from across the street. There's no foundation. These are temporary structures that were moved. So as of right, in an agricultural zone, to not have a variance, those existing sheds did not exist. And that I am certain of. They were migrated. And if anybody, I never went on the property, I just took pictures from the road, they would see that they were temporary things, lean-tos that were moved from one side of the street to the other. And it's bad enough you can't contain one parcel. Now I see it migrating.
All right, well, the subject of this evening, though, is the one parcel that we're talking about, that these
Correct, but that
So
one
any-
parcel is debris. And to even have it get to that point is a big question in my mind, with additional storages coming in.
well, we're trying to make sure that what is there is removed, and presumably that will not
That's
occur in the
fine.
future.
I would like to clarify one thing. Does Mr. Baker own 2 separate parcels, or there's multiple parcels of land, one of which Mr. Baker owns, this one that we're talking about, and the others are owned by the tenant farmer? Can somebody clarify that?
The tenant farmer, if you're going into town,
Is across the
tenant
road.
farmer on 308. The
Yeah,
tenant
he's
farmer is on the right.
He's across the road from Mr.
Baker.
Baker.
Right, and Mr. Baker is across from the tenant farmer, which that has migrated. And then Mr. Baker, I believe, has 2 additional fields.
Matt, do you know what parcels he owns? I mean, it was my understanding he does not own the parcel directly across the street, but I don't know that.
I think I
Jeff?
have
No,
a aerial. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Here's
I'm
an
sorry?
aerial. Oh,
Right.
I'm putting up an aerial on the screen, which might be, I don't know, Ms. Kusa, if you're able to, if you're, I looked at your.
I'm not, I
response.
can't.
Can't see it.
Okay.
Basically what it shows is that he does not own that parcel or parcels on the other side of the street. I guess that would be the north side.
Well, they're separate parcels. I mean, Mr. Baker could own one of them. I mean,
Yeah,
can look it up.
I believe he does. I'm pretty certain he does because I had a discussion well over a year ago with the tenant farmer. And he said, yeah, I'm leasing this from Jeff.
Well, we don't have a title search. We don't know. And really, I think we're starting to get
Okay.
we're starting to get a little far afield because what we're really dealing with is this subject parcel and trying to remedy whatever situation there is there and then hopefully have it improved. I have a quick question, and it deals with the pole barn. We got some sketches for, the inside of the pole barn, and as best I can tell, there's just going to be inside of it just a toilet and a sink. That's it.
The pole barn? I don't think there's a toilet and sink. No, there's,
It's in the attached garage.
Oh, the attached garage. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
oh,
actually, Scott, would you like to just go through the submissions that Mr.
Yeah.
Towns had
Yeah,
provided from the
Yeah, Matt,
beginning?
why don't you okay. So do you want to start at the beginning and
sure. Yeah, so those are photos of the accessory dwelling unit. That's the cottage that is currently in the location where Mr. Baker would like to put his home. That's going to be moved to
Then this
the
was
location
the-
on the plan.
And then this was the rendering that we also requested for the principal house.
Yeah, this is what he wants it to, what the aesthetic will be. It's single story, slab on grade, lots of windows to take advantage of the views of the lake. The right side will be, so two bay
Yeah, I see it.
garage.
okay?
Yeah, two bay garage, and then he's got closets. Those are for storage, just because there's no basement. So it's a place to put clutter. He'll have some built-ins, and then utility room that explains itself. And then there'll be a bathroom in there with a rec room that he wants to put a pool table in.
So with the bathroom, is it just a toilet and sink and then the washer dryer?
Yeah,
No tub, no shower?
correct.
And you really get into the bathroom from the rec room, it looks like.
Yep.
I mean, okay, so it really seems more associated with the rec room, the rest of the house, than with the garage.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I just want to confirm, no kitchen or sleeping rooms of any sort, just to make
No,
sure, again, it's not part of the accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah, he doesn't want an accessory dwelling unit there. There's no intention for that.
So no kitchen.
Nope, no kitchen.
Okay. And this was the middle. So Matt, do you want to just kind of walk us through a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, this is, there's a bedroom with, looks like, a couple bathrooms, office,
So,
the
so
main
Matt,
living room,
can
the
you,
kitchen.
can you tell us where the rec room and the garage is in relation to this?
Yeah, so that would be, I believe, off the right side of this page.
Okay, yeah, I was kind of losing my orientation there. Okay.
Yeah, yep. No, it would be off the right side, kind of near the table, kitchen. And then the left side will be his master bedroom, master bath and closet. So that's the left side of the house.
And so,
These were 2-bedroom houses.
Yeah, it's 2 bedrooms, and then they're gonna have an office.
Hey, Kim, can you go back one page? So in this one, where's the master bathroom, bedroom?
off the left side. The door is off the living room. So go down where it says living room, it says barn door.
Is that part of, is that part of the single story?
Yeah, that barn door opens and
Uh-huh.
leads to the master bedroom.
How come it's not drawn on the plan?
It's just 3 separate pages.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Gotcha. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Could you go back to the original page, Kim? Actually, the bathroom, the master bed.
Master, yeah, the next one.
The master, okay.
Can you, Matt, can you provide us with a kind of integrated set of floor plans?
All 3 of them together?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I can.
With the garage and the rec room, just so we can kind of see what the whole thing looks like.
Sure, I'll put that together.
Now, Kim, did you say that the garage, this attached garage, does it count as part of the accessory buildings square footage or no?
No, it shouldn't. I have to look back at my notes, but let's see. Well, it does say roof or I have to look back at my notes. I can't remember how accessory structure is classified. If it includes attached garage or not. So let me just.
It does. It has in the past. I'm
It
not
has
saying
in the past, yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with that interpretation. I'm just saying that that's the precedent that's been around for as long as I can remember.
I think that's right. Yeah.
That's why I was asking. So we'd want to
Yeah.
make sure we have the square. That's another reason to have an integrated plan, so we can see exactly what the square footage of is of the garage part of it.
Right, and that doesn't does that, well, the next is, shows the garage, I guess, the outside.
This is the pole barn.
Is it the pole barn? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's
no.
the pole barn, okay.
And then there was a floor rendering for the pole barn.
So there's going to be an upstairs to the pole barn, right?
Yeah, there'll be a loft for storage.
Will the pole barn be enclosed?
Yep.
With doors?
Is there a?
There's no water in the pole barn, is there?
Nope.
And do you have any rendering of what the outside exterior is going to look like? I know you have for the house.
Yeah, I'll have to check with Jeff. If you are you looking for?
What's going to look like when we drive up the driveway?
Okay.
You be able to see the pole barn from 308?
No, you won't.
There's trees in between. There's vegetation in between. At least now there is.
The vegetation on Route 308, as the pictures demonstrate, there's no vegetation there. It's just overgrown weeds. And my request would be for that particular field with the debris, and that is Mr. Baker's field, there should be some kind of fencing or landscaping provided. So if they decide to leave whatever they want there, or if he's contractually obligated to this tenant farmer, that nobody has to look at all of this stuff.
Board members, I do have the photos that Ms. Kuzo has Kuta has provided, if you would like me to put them on the screen.
Sure.
I know that Ms. Kuta can't see it, but you know, I'll just go through them.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have your submission, these are just in chronological order as to how you submitted them. So I don't know if that would help, but just go through
No,
them.
well, I've taken the pictures over the course of about a little over a year and a half. And I took the most recent ones, June 14th, and I dated them. That's the way that agricultural, quote unquote, farm is looking.
Which side of 308 is this?
This is the
It's
east.
on the left side of 308.
Okay,
These are
so
not the right side. I
The
took
east
one
side.
picture of the right side of 308 to show there are 4 buses, and those buses migrate from the right side to the left side. That's my request. If you're gonna put something up, landscape it, fence it. There's only one picture in there of 308 on the right side, and it has 4 buses.
I think this is the picture that
Yeah.
currently
Right.
is.
Yeah.
The other photographs show equipment that's actually on the parcel we're talking about. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm
the
sorry,
one,
could you
the
repeat
preceding
that?
ones.
The preceding ones.
Yeah, that's not Jeff's property right
Right.
there.
This current one is not Jeff's, but are these Jeff's properties?
Yeah, the other ones are. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Do the board members have any other questions and concerns about the application?
No, I don't.
No, I mean, I can, we can each, I can look up on parcel access and see if Mr. Baker owns the other properties. I realize this is the one that we're speaking about.
Catherine, I had checked parcel access myself following these photos that came in. At least from parcel access, it looks like Mr. Baker just owns the property, at least as a property record holder on this one that's in front of the board. The one that's across the street is not owned by Mr. Baker.
Oh, thank you.
Trying to get that parcel. Like I said, at least this is based on parcel access. This could have changed, but the red highlight here is what is owned by Mr. Baker. These are not, this is not owned by Mr. Baker.
Okay,
Currently.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, my apology, that is the one across from the tenant farmer is not Mr. Baker's.
No, the one right across from the tenant farmer is Mr. Baker's. It's kind of an
That's what
L
I
shape.
thought. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a,
It
it has a little-
has like a little hedge, so it looks kind of like 2 fields. It's technically one property, but there's like a little hedge grove that kind of does
Yeah.
look like it splits into
Okay.
2 fields.
but it's all one parcel.
It's all one parcel.
Yeah. And that is his. So
Yes.
Mhm.
The junk, yeah, the junk is on 423-606. Right next to the sheriff's substation.
Right, and that's owned by somebody else,
It's
obviously.
owned by somebody else.
Hmm.
All right. Well, we need some more information, in which we've discussed, and that is basically a floor plan showing, integrating what you've provided to us in the multiple pages into something so we can have a better idea of where everything is. I'd also like to see what the pole barn is going to look like, and it's all part of the balancing test that we have to, what's it going to do with the neighborhood? How's it going to look with the rest of the neighborhood? All that kind of stuff. So we need to see, what the pole barn is going to look like. We have an idea of what the house is going to look like. But again, we'd also, I think, like to get a better idea of exactly how these plans merge together. If you put them, kind of combine them all in one sheet, I think is what Catherine was asking about, and I agree, absolutely.
Also, Matt, you mentioned that these were one-story contemporary structures, but the plans, just part of the integration is the plans are 2 or 3 stories. So
Which plans?
the plans that we were looking at with the master bath upstairs and the bedroom and office and living area downstairs.
Oh no, that was all. It was all one story. I'll put it together.
Okay.
I'll make
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah, it's causing confusion. So if you look at this in the lower left, there are what written vertically. It says barn doors. Okay, and then go to the next sheet. Those barn doors connect to, in the bottom right, it says barn doors. So that's where that side connects. And then the barn doors on the left side, where it says living room, connects down to the master bedroom. But like I said, I'll put it all together into one, so it's clearer. I understand.
All right, thank you.
All right. Kim, obviously we need a little bit more information. Your thoughts and counsel on closing the meeting subject to receiving those items or leaving it open until we receive those items?
I think either, what we had done when we had recently requested some changes, we kind of like left the public hearing open and then just had a resolution prepared. I do have a question of how does ZBA, I know there was some, discussion from the public about fencing or landscaping. Is that anything the board wants to see? Is that something that is more on the planning? I mean, I believe it is in front of the planning board currently for a site plan.
They actually, I'm sorry, just real quick, the planning board approved of it, approved the plan, so we don't have to go back to them. They approved it conditionally based on health department approval and ZBA approval. So they're happy with what you see.
Matt, that the health department approval was on the septic for the house that's being moved?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, I don't think the fencing is something that's a planning board consideration, and I presume they considered that.
Yeah,
but excuse me, did the planning board see those pictures before they gave approval?
I have no idea. We do not interact. We interact with the planning board, but we don't attend their meetings and things like that. So I do not know what was before the planning board, but that's public record, and you can find out exactly what was before them by talking to the planning board clerk. What's before us is this application. I'm sorry, Kim.
Oh, I was just going to say that, we have had discussions, with with Matt on behalf of the applicant about removing the debris and kind of keeping the property in a more reputable state. And that's just, sorry for the lack of word to use there, but I think that we should incorporate that discussion into the resolution. The planning board and the ZEO will have that resolution, which kind of provides a little bit of protection, I think, to prevent it from getting to the current state it's in. So my suggestion for the board, whoever's, I think
Tim Allenbrook,
I would just kind of include a sort of discussion about that, which kind of just provides a little bit of conditions as we had discussed to maintain the property in a good condition.
Okay.
Can I ask anybody a question? Who would want to live next to that property the way it looks?
We're trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
That's why I truly, truly appreciate it, because I've been fighting alone, the one next door, and it's migrated. And that's why I'm listening to these beautiful improvements, pools, new houses, and they have to put landscape together and fences. Something as horrendous as this with a historical timeline makes me nervous. He could do whatever he likes. That's his property. But I don't have to be subject to it, and neither should anybody else. That's the entranceway into Rhinebeck. It's 1,000 feet from the property. Welcome to historical Rhinebeck, founded in 1686. I mean, that's the bottom line. I appreciate any support. I wish him well, okay? But I think that this needs to be looked at just to protect, however you want to write that in your resolution. I mean, some landscaping, some fencing. And that existing shed did not exist. That was transported across the street.
As far as the fencing goes, each property is different, and the other properties we were talking about are very close to each other, and it's a different situation. And here we are trying to write into the resolution, and we're going to get a letter from the applicant, but we're also going to write it into the resolution as part of any granting of a variance, that all this debris be removed, and that gives some teeth, I think, to any official who, if something happens, to go in and say, hey, you got to get rid of this stuff. So
No, I agree.
that's what we can do, and we will do that, because we are aware of the situation.
That, and it should be very defined on what's agricultural equipment, because buses that go back and forth between the two properties are not agricultural. Abandoned trucks, garbage pails, mattresses. Okay, so I think you folks have heard me. You've been very generous with your time. I wish Mr. Baker well, but I think there has to be some respect for the neighbors and for the entranceway into Rhinebeck.
I agree with you, and we appreciate your comments and the information that you have provided to us. So again, we will build whatever safeguards we can into the resolution.
I appreciate that. Just
so
remember, if you were driving past that to get to your home, what do you want to look at?
Yep.
Some nice fencing and some growing trees, or that. And he doesn't have to do it for all the fields. Just do it the one that they keep crossing over. And that's the problem with the right. The right side does not listen to boundary lines. I fought with him for years, so it's not just a disgruntled neighbor.
No, I understand.
So in any event, I am going to leave you folks to do what you need to do. And will there be another meeting after this? Or
Well,
that's what we're discussing.
Yeah, that's
right
what
now.
and my suggestion is that yes, Matt, what I think we'll do is what we did with the first two matters, and that is we'll keep the public hearing open so that we can receive that information, maybe ask you some more questions. Maybe Ms. Kuza has some more questions, but we will represent to you that instead of having to wait an additional 30 days after that, assuming we close the meeting, we will have a resolution ready for you at the next meeting. So I think it's fair to both sides. It doesn't slow you down, but it allows us to get more information. It allows Ms. Kuza to see the more information, and then we'll complete hopefully the public hearing at the next meeting, and have a resolution for you later on in that evening.
Sure,
Okay.
That's very fair. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing until the next board date, which is July, was it 20, Chris, was it 21st?
Yes, July 21st.
Which, by the way, gang, we may see each other. We may be together in town all together, which would be nice. Again, I make that motion. We continue the public hearing until July 21st so that we can receive the additional information. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and that's Tim Econopoulos. So Tim, I assume you're in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay, Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Tim Allenbrook,
Yep.
and I am as well. So we'll get them more information and we'll have a resolution ready that evening.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Huza. All right. Hannah, you're next.
Hello.
Hello. There you are. Okay, so the public hearing is open still. So again, if you can just go through, I know we had asked for some more information and I know some of it was cost prohibitive. So we just did away with the requirement, but if you could just take us through just briefly the application. I know we know it, but for the record.
So we are looking to build a storage workshop shed on the only buildable spot on our property. And you can see it there. We are seeking a variance for the front and the back of the shed. We already got a variance for the side. And we were asked by the planning board to get 2 more variances, one from the back of the shed to the back of the property line and from the front to the front of the property line.
And I know we asked you, or it may have even been me, asking for some kind of rendering of what the structure would look like. And basically, as I understand it, it's going to be the same color as the house, right?
Yes, but this is
Okay.
an old, we
Was
had,
that the previous renderings? Sorry.
that's
These are
not,
the renderings. This isn't right?
this is it. This drawing right here, these are the drawings. The former, the other renderings were for a metal kit building, which we are not building. We're building this from scratch. And we're going to use, I believe it's called hardy board, a kind of composite siding.
To cement product, basically.
And we're going to paint it the same color as the house. It's a single story storage workshop shed, and it will have doors, windows, and a sink. And the doors, the west elevation faces the road.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It's at a little bit of an angle, but it's the closest one that faces the road, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the siding, the hardy board, is that clapboard or?
Yeah,
Is
it's clapboard.
Okay.
It's like clapboard,
that
basically.
match the house?
Yeah, it's gonna be this painted the same color.
Yeah. Is there going to be heat? There is going to be heat in there too, right?
Yes, heat and
It'll be a
And-
heat pump unit, so it'll be a dryer, sort of cooler and a heater.
Oh, heat pump. Yeah.
And you're just going to have a utility sink or something like that in
Yeah,
there?
just a slop sink.
Yep, okay. All right, I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
Me neither.
And it was already staked out. I know we went there before. It hasn't really changed any from.
It hasn't changed. The stakes are still there.
Okay, well, that's
Catherine,
good.
You want to go back, Catherine? I think you and I went together.
Yeah, sure. I like site visits.
All right. I don't have any questions or concerns or any need for more information. So how about the board? Anybody need anything else for their consideration of the application?
I don't think so.
Okay, and I don't hear anybody from the public? I guess nobody from the public. All right, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Catherine was first, so Catherine Clark has the second. Tim Econopoli,
Yes.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Tim Allenbrook,
Yes.
and I am yes as well. And I believe, Catherine Clark, you have been charged with writing this resolution, correct?
I was just checking, and I believe that is true.
Aha. So we will have a resolution ready for you by the July 21st meeting. This has been closed, so we have everything we need. And Catherine will have the resolution. We'll read the resolution. You don't have to be present. Well, you guys have been through this before, so you know. But if you want, if you don't have anything better to do on a July 21st Wednesday night, and you want to hang out and listen to a resolution, we'd love to have you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you for the invite.
We're desperate for audiences, so Anyway, but all kidding aside, we'll have that ready, and I'm sorry that it's taken this long, but it'll be done on the 21st.
Great.
Okay.
And hope that this is our final visit.
Yes.
Project.
Yes.
We do too.
We do too.
Thank you.
Not that we don't mind seeing you, but
Yes.
I know what it's like to go through this process.
Yes, Catherine is a former satisfied customer, I believe.
Yes, but I also had some holdups, just like you did. So
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your patience. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Yeah, you too. All right. So I think the next thing is we have gotten through all of our public hearings, and we'll start with the old business, which is the Herm matter. So does somebody want to read that resolution?
I can read it.
Okay.
I have my water here, so I'm ready. Resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of the area variance application of Joel Herm and Susan Hochbaum. ZBA case number 1014. The applicants are Joel Herm and Susan Hochbaum. They are the owners of the property and are representing themselves. The property involved, this appeal involves property located at 443 Mill Road in the town of Rhinebeck, and which bears the tax parcel number 606900935067. The applicant's property is 10.2 acres in area and is located in the R810 zoning district. Description of the proposed project. The applicant seeks to utilize an existing dam along Landsman Kill to generate power for their property. The proposal is to install a small hydropower turbine to power the house, appliances, their electric vehicles, and which would allow them to be self-sufficient. The project is not intended to provide power to the grid or beyond their property. The project will consist of a 10 kilowatt hydroelectric turbine that attaches to an existing low-level HDPE outlet, an electrical control panel, and cable that connects the project and the house. The turbine is to be installed on open rock next to the spillway. The generator and associated panel box are considered accessory structures and neither require any covering structure. Section 12527A2B of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law states accessory structures must be set back 60% of rear setback and 70% of side setback. Therefore, two area variances are required. Variance 1, rear yard setback for the panel box. 45 feet is required and 30 is proposed, requiring a variance of 15 feet. Variance 2, rear yard setback for the generator. 45 is required and 0 is proposed, requiring a variance of 45 feet. ZBA review. Timeliness of appeal. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on March 20, 2021 and has paid the requisite fee. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the date of the CEO's determination letter, which is being appealed. dated March 1, 2021, and thus the application is timely as required by section 125(125)B of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. This application was accepted by this board on April 21st, 2021 and deemed complete. SECRA. This application is simultaneously before the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board, who determined this as a type 2 application at their March 1, 2021 Planning Board meeting. The ZBA accepts this classification of the proposed action. No further environmental review is required. Referrals and responses. The application was referred to the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board following the ZBA acceptance of the application is complete. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board responded on March 18th, 2021, stating they had, I think that should be seen. They had seen, or they, either the had comes out or we changed the saw to seen, no significant planning or environmental concerns.
About take the hat out?
Yeah, I think we take the had out, Chris. The application was also referred to the WAC as it is within the LWRP. The WAC has not responded. As 30 days have elapsed since the application was referred to WAC, the ZBA may move forward with its final decision without having received comments from the WAC. Public hearing. A public hearing on this application was advertised and held on May 19th, 2021. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing was held virtually pursuant to New York State Executive Order 202.1, which suspended certain provisions of the open meetings law to allow a municipal board to convene meetings during the current pandemic via video conferencing and/or telephone conferencing. The public was thus afforded the opportunity to view and participate during this public hearing remotely. A letter dated May 14th, 2021 from Dr. Bert Nelson of 463 Mill Road was received by the ZBA. Dr. Nelson requested that the ZBA refrain from any action until after the scheduled planning board meeting on June 7th, 2021. No other input was received from the public during the meeting. As the planning board has concluded its SECRA review, the ZBA can continue with its final decision in this manner, even if the planning board continues its own review of its approvals for the project. However, the ZBA noted that the planning board would meet prior to this June meeting and would proceed with their timeline in parallel. In addition, any resolution issued by the ZBA provides that the granting of variances is contingent on any other required approvals, which would include the planning board. The public hearing was closed on May 19th, 2021. Site visit on June 6, 2021. So we have to switch that around. Timothy Allen Brook and Catherine Clark visited the applicant's property and the surrounding neighborhood to observe firsthand on-site conditions, property characteristics, settings, surrounding environment, and the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Findings of facts and conclusions of law. Balancing test. In our review of the variances sought, we've considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variances are granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. We determined that the variances requested should be granted because there is no perceived detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by the granting of the variances. Consideration of 5 factors in balancing test. In our determination, we have considered the 5 factors required by section 125.124C1 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law as follows. If the variances are granted, will it cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find the answer to this question is no. The property itself is 10.2 acres and is situated so that there is ample buffer between the location of the Landsman Kill Dam that will be utilized and other properties. The closest residential structure owned by Dr. Nelson, 463 Mill Road, is 618 feet from the location of the dam, the proposed generator and control panel. The Nelson house itself was not visible from the site at the time of the site visit, although it may be visible in winter months The generator will be placed next to the lower end of the falls and is below the grade of the land that slopes up to the neighboring property. The control panel itself is small and very discreet and will be 197 feet from the 463 Mill Road property line and approximately 589 feet from the house. Any noise produced by the generator will be less than the sound produced by the Landsman Kill Dam itself, which has been measured at 90 decibels at the dam. Can the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than this area variance? We find that the answer to this question is no. The applicant would like to utilize the existing dam structure and water flow to generate enough electricity to be self-sufficient. Thus, the location of the panel and generator are determined by the location of Landsman Kill and the existing dam structure. The proposed generator requires minimal changes to the current landscape. Any other solution for generating electrical power would have far more impact on the environment. Are the requested area variances substantial? We find the answer to this question is no, given the size of the applicant's property and the surrounding topography. The neighbor to the east, the Grasmere property, is directly opposite the proposed generator, but there are no structures on that portion of the property. The next habitable structure to the east is more than 2,500 feet from the dam. The applicant has a 50-year renewable easement with Grasmere. Will the proposed variances have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find the answer to this question is no. As mentioned above, there is a significant distance between the site for the generator and any other homes. The sound of the generator will be far less than the sound of the falls itself and will not interfere with the natural sound of the falls. Overall, it will enhance the value of the property with no impact to neighbors. Is the alleged difficulty self-created? We find the answer to this question is yes, as the applicant could forego installation of a generator and rely on power from the grid. Minimal variance requested. In addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing test, we must also determine if these requested variances are the minimum variances necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant. We find the answer to this question is yes. The placement of both the generator and control panel are designed to minimize the impact of the variances requested. They are logical in terms of maximum efficiency and will minimize any impact. Now, therefore, be it resolved based on all the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. The ZBA hereby grants the variances requested by the applicant, finding that the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. As discussed above, given the access to a pre-existing dam, the addition of a generator that can provide enough power for the property is an enhancement to the property that will have no detrimental impact on the neighborhood. The location of both generator and control panel are well out of view of other homes and will blend into the overall environment. Any noise from the generator will be overshadowed by the noise of the dam as is. Section 2, the granting of these variances is expressly contingent upon the following: that the installation of the generator and control panel conform to the plans as submitted. Section 3, the granting of these variances shall also be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application in full compliance with Article 14 fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. These variances shall not be deemed valid until all such fees are paid in full by the applicant. Section 4, the granting of these variances do not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits and/or approvals. Section 5, the area variances shall be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced within 1 year of this resolution. Is there any discussion on this? Any questions other than the couple of things I called out that we typo-wise that we need to fix?
No, I thought you did a very nice job. It read nicely, and I think the application and the resolution makes sense. I think it's a nice project. So I like the discussion and the ultimate outcome. Anybody else?
Sounds like a great project, really.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And
Mr. Herm, we're not done yet, so, but we just get to speak now. So you're jumping the gun, but you'll get your chance. So anybody have any, what's that? Any comments, concerns or whatever, or if not, Catherine, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we approve this resolution as written with the couple of typos that were called out being corrected.
And I'll second that. And Chris, would you do the honors, please?
Yes. Scott Bergen,
Yes.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Tim Econopoulos,
Yes.
and Tim Allenbrook.
Yes.
You're approved, Mr. Herm.
thanks so much. You guys are really pros. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you. It's a very nice project. Best of luck with you.
Yeah.
All right. So that's that. Next is the resolution in the Whitman matter. And let me just get this out of the way here. Before I get going, I do want to thank Chris for her help in correcting some of the just helping with the resolution. So it's a little lengthy. I apologize, but I wanted to make it thorough. Anyway, this is the resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals. It's in the matter of the area variance application of Catherine Whitman, ZBA case number 1012. Background: the applicant is Catherine Whitman. She's the owner of the property and is representing herself, the property involved. This appeal involves property located at 16 Old Post Road, Rhinebeck, New York, in the town of Rhinebeck, and which bears the tax parcel number 6170-01-378726. The applicant's property is 0.382 acres in area and is located in the RA10 zoning district. Description of the proposed project. The applicant seeks to construct a new single-family residence. Originally, there was an existing residence on the property that had predated the zoning law and had been within the setbacks. With regard to the original structure, the ZBA granted an area variance in June of 2020, allowing a 3.5-foot addition to the front of the residence, reducing the front yard setback to 57.5 feet, where 150 was required, and that was in case number 994. Subsequent to that variance, the applicant, without obtaining a permit, demolished the residence entirely. Nothing exists of that residence, although a pre-existing garage continues to be on site. The applicant now wishes to construct a single-family residence, which has a second floor and wishes to move the proposed structure from the original footprint by 8 feet towards the south side yard boundary. As the pre-existing house was demolished, the new proposed house is no longer grandfathered into the setbacks, and thus the new proposed house must meet the setback requirements to be in conformity with the zoning law. There has been some confusion as to the actual extent of the side yard setbacks, as well as the front yard setback, when the application was originally submitted, as the applicant provided different plans to the ZBA than was submitted to the building department. This required an amendment to the original determination letter dated March 29th, 2021, and an updated letter from the acting zoning administrator dated April 21st, 2021. The applicable sections of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law require a 150-foot front setback. In addition, 100 feet side setbacks are required. And finally, the allowable building coverage must equal 7% of the lot area, or 1,163 square feet. Accordingly, in the present case, 4 variances are required. Variance 1, front yard setback of 150 feet is required, and 55 feet 5 inches is proposed for a variance requested of 94 feet 7 inches. Variance 2, a 100-foot side yard setback from the north side is required. The proposed setback is 25 feet 2.5 inches, requiring variance of 74 feet 9.5 inches. Variance 3, a 100-foot side yard setback is required on the south side of the property. The proposed setback is 23 feet, 3 inches, requiring a variance of 76 feet, 9 inches. Variance 4, the allowable building coverage of 7% of the lot is 1,163 square feet. The proposed building coverage is 1,770.75 square feet, requiring a variance of 607.75 square feet. During the course of the public hearing, the ZBA asked if the proposed house would be on the same foundation as the original house. The applicant stated that the house would be moved 8 feet to the south in order to provide more distance between the house and the driveway. Presently, the driveway to the garage essentially abuts the footprint of the prior building. After a site visit and based upon the additional screening information provided by the applicant, the board is willing to agree to a 4-foot movement of the proposed structure to the south side lot line from the original footprint of the prior house. Accordingly, the side yard setback from the north side would be 21 feet, 2.5 inches for a requested variance of 78 feet, 9.5 inches. The side yard setback from the south side would be 27 feet, 3 inches with a variance request of 72 feet, 9 inches. ZBA review. Timeliness of the appeal. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on March 1st, 2021, and has paid the requisite fee. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the date of the ZEO's initial determination letter, which is being appealed from, dated February 4th, 2021. As stated previously, this determination letter was amended by the acting zoning administrator in a letter dated April 21st, 2021. Thus, the application is timely as required pursuant to 125-125B of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. This application was accepted by this board on April 21st, 2021, and deemed complete subject to additional information relative to elevations. Elevation plans were submitted by the applicant on April 27th, 2021. Secret. This application is simultaneously before the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board, who determined that this is a type 2 action at their April 19th, 2021 Planning Board meeting. The ZBA accepts this classification of the action as type 2 and no further environmental review is required. Referrals and responses. The application was referred to the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board following the ZBA's acceptance of the application is complete, subject to additional information being provided. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board responded on May 18th, 2021, stating that they saw no significant planning or environmental concerns. The application was referred to the WAC/CAB as it is on a designated scenic road. As noted in the Conservation Advisory Board's letter dated May 10th, 2021, the applicant falls within the Town of Rhinebeck RA10 zoning district, the LWRA local waterfront revitalization area, floodplain and SASS scenic area of statewide significance. Old Post Road is designated a local scenic road. The CAB found that the proposed project is not expected to have a significant impact on the LWRP, the floodplain, SASS, but because of the change in style of the single-family residence, the CAB stated that consideration should be given to how the proposed structure will blend in with the surrounding structures. Paragraph 7, public hearing. A public hearing on this application was advertised and held on May 19th, 2021. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing was held virtually pursuant to New York State Executive Order 202.1, which suspended certain provisions of the Open Meetings Law to allow a municipal board to convene meetings during the current pandemic via video conferencing and/or telephone conferencing. The public was thus afforded the opportunity to view and participate during this public hearing remotely. A neighbor, Philip Del Borgo, residing next door at 14 Old Post Road, was present and provided an email on May 18th, 2021, stating that he had concerns about the request to reduce the south side setback and the screening between his property, as the applicant had removed plantings between the properties. Mr. Del Borgo also inquired as to the poor condition of the garage. The applicant admitted removing a dead tree, vegetation, and weeds. She plans to remove the stump and replace the vegetation. The applicant also intends to repair the garage with new siding, paint garage door, and possible new roof. The board requested that the applicant provide a detailed landscape plot plan and identify the plants, locations, and distances between the plants. The applicant has supplied a plan for screening vegetation as well as a 6-foot privacy fence. The public hearing was continued on June 16th, 2021 for a review of the landscape plan submitted. No further substantial comments were received during the course of the public hearing. Accordingly, the public hearing was closed on June 16th, 2021. And I don't know how folks feel about this. I mean, there were some comments made by the Aldel Borgos. I guess we can fiddle around with that, or we could leave it alone. You know, there were questions about the fencing, the plantings, and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I may have to beef this up a little bit. I don't know, Chris or Kim, what your thoughts are maybe on that, or we can wait till the end.
Actually, what I thought you could say, because I think that the neighbors were generally appreciative of the fencing and the
Yeah.
landscape.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I do think that it is an accurate statement to say that there was no substantial comments made.
Okay.
You know, that required any changes to the plan. So if you would like, my only suggestion would be to say that, you know, they reviewed the fence and the landscape and appreciated it.
Okay, and I guess kind of agreed with it. They thought it was a good plan. That was my impression.
Yeah, just to say that, just to make sure it's clear that they did get a chance
They were
to
present.
comment on it, and
Yeah.
they appreciated it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I might have missed. Did we say anything specific about the size of the trees? Or do we think we should?
Well, we make reference later on to the plan itself, and it being a condition that it be carried out in conformity with the plan. But I'm not adverse to putting something in along those lines.
Because I don't remember if, I mean, I think it was fair to say we're talking about something that's at least about as high as the fence, you know, somewhere between 5 and 8 feet. And I don't think that was specified in Catherine's plan, but if I remember correctly, I think, Catherine, you were in agreement with that in terms of trying to find something of that scale.
Yeah, 6 to 8 feet or whatever she could find. I mean, it's unclear whether she can do that or not. I guess I think it's important to note that the Del Borgo, I know I'm mispronouncing it, Del Borgos were present and commented on the landscaping plan and were in general agreement with it and approved of it. So maybe we can insert something, you know, at the back end of the paragraph 7. Is that enough, you think? Or you see, that's the problem with doing these things ahead of time, is that, you know, you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, no, and I think that, you know, it's known that, you know, these are written ahead of time, but are, you know, at the ZBA can adjust it and make edits to it. So so maybe after it says, the sentence that says the public hearing was continued to June 16th for review of the landscape plans submitted. Put in a new sentence saying, Mr. Del Borgo was present at the meeting and reviewed the fence and tree and landscape proposal.
And also, I'm not sure if it's Mrs. or Ms. or whatever. His significant other was also with him, and she made some comments as well. I think she was just as active. She did most of the questioning.
Yeah, she had most of the questions.
So I think
there was some, he was. What do you want? I think he said it with his wife.
That was my impression. I thought something was said.
Do we get into fence color and stuff like that? Because she was concerned about that.
Well, I mean, the resolution should have a discussion of it. I mean, the minutes will at least if it doesn't reflect it in the minutes, I think the minutes always do point to the Zoom that's available. We can say fence color, tree height were discussed.
I think that's fair. And it wasn't, I mean, they didn't agree on a color. They agreed they'd kind of like work on it, I think, together a little bit. Catherine,
They asked for lighter color.
yeah, well, right. Either a gray or something like that. They were concerned about a black.
Yeah.
And what might happen. And Catherine, I think, expressed a willingness to work with them on, a color other than black. Kim, are you fiddling around with some language there? Or I think I can fiddle around with this a little bit more, but that's the gist of it, of what.
Yeah, why don't
wanted to
you
say.
continue
Right.
reading? I'll see if I can come up with something. If
Okay.
not, we can
This,
kind
yeah,
of plan it. This isn't like a substantial change, it's a
Right.
change, but not something that needs to be exact.
it's just incorporating a little bit of tonight. Okay, site visit. On June 14th, 2021, Scott Bergen and Catherine Clark visited the applicant's property and the surrounding neighborhood to observe firsthand on-site conditions, property characteristics, setting, surrounding environment, and the character of the neighborhood. As stated previously, the ZBA asked if the proposed house would be on the same foundation as the original house, and the applicant indicated that the house would be moved 8 feet to the south in order to provide more distance between the house and the driveway. The applicant, pursuant to the board's request, staked the property to show the area where the original structure was originally located, as well as where they proposed to place the new structure, which was shifted 8 feet to the south. After having the chance to conduct a site visit and based upon the additional screening information provided by the applicant, the board is willing to agree to a 4-foot movement of the proposed structure to the south side lot line from the original footprint of the prior house. Findings of fact and conclusions of law. Balancing test. In our review of the variances sought, we have considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variances are granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. We have determined that the variances requested should be granted because there is no perceived detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by the granting of the variances. Consideration of 5 factors in balance test. In our determination, we have considered the 5 factors required by section 125-124C1 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law as follows. A, if the variances are granted, will it cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find that the answer to the question is no. The property itself is only 0.38 acres and is situated within with houses on either side. However, the applicant has supplied a screening and vegetation plan which would effectively screen and provide privacy to both the applicant as well as the neighbor to the south. Moreover, while the proposed structure is slightly closer to the southern lot line, it is essentially the same size as the house it is replacing, except for a second floor. Given the topography of the lot, the location of the proposed residence is appropriate. In fact, any location of a single-family structure necessitates variances because of the small size of the lot itself. The structure will enhance the neighborhood as it replaces a structure which was in a poor state of repair and ultimately had to be demolished. In addition, the proposed vegetation screening to the front of the property will also shield it from the roadway. While the buildable coverage is increased from the prior structure, it is not so much larger that it will substantially change the character of the neighborhood. B, can the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variances? We find that the answer to the question is no. The applicant, regardless of where they proposed to put the structure, would require front and side yard setbacks. Simply put, any structure on this substandard lot would require front yard and side yard variances. Is the requested area variance substantial? We find that the answer to the question is no. This is a very substandard lot with not a lot of room to place a single-family structure. The proposed single-family structure is essentially the same footprint as the building it replaces. While the variances on their face may appear at first blush to be numerically substantial, because of the size and nature of the lot, these variances are required or the lot would essentially become unbuildable. The house itself is placed in a logical portion of the lot given the topography, the shape of the lot, and the location of the garage. Will the proposed variance have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find that the answer to the question is no. As mentioned above, the proposed structure is a substantial improvement over the dilapidated structure it replaces. Also, the vegetation and fencing proposed on the south side of the property, as well as the front of the property, will provide for privacy to the applicant, but more importantly, reduce any visual impact in the neighborhood. Overall, the structure will enhance the property and the neighborhood. And then E is the alleged difficulty self-created. We find that the answer to the question is yes. As noted above, the applicant originally came before this board seeking a variance to replace a front porch. During the course of rehabbing the original structure, it became apparent that it was too far gone. Accordingly, the original structure was demolished. Unfortunately, the applicant did so without obtaining the required permits. The new structure is essentially on the same footprint as the old structure, and the size and proportion of the lot necessitates that any building on this lot will require multiple variances. 11, minimal variances are required or requested, excuse me. In addition to our review of the 5 factors in the balancing test, we must also determine if this requested variance is the minimum variance necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant. We find that the answer to this question is no. The placement of the new structure is approximately in the same area as the old structure. However, it is proposed to be shifted 8 feet to the south. This was done to provide more space between the house and the driveway. The ZBA agrees. While this desire to have more space set between the house and driveway is let's see, that's okay. I think we have a typo here. The ZBA agrees with this desire to have more. Okay, maybe the ZBA agrees with this desire to have more space set between the house and the drive. Something happened here. Okay, ZBA agrees. While this
it says, yeah, while this desire to have more space set between the house and driveway
and
is
the driveway is reasonable and understandable,
understanding.
we must also be cognizant of the neighbor to the south who would have the structure 8 feet closer to his property. After a site visit and based upon the additional screening information provided by the applicant, the board is willing to agree to 4-foot movement of the proposed structure to the south lot line from the original footprint of the prior house. Accordingly, the side yard setback from the north side would be 21 feet, 2.5 inches for a requested variance of 78 feet, 9.5 inches. The side yard setback from the south side would be 27 feet, 3 inches with a variance requested of 72 feet, 9 inches. Now therefore be it resolved based upon all of the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. Section 1, the ZBA hereby grants the variances as amended by this board such that 1, the side yard setback from the north side would be 21 feet, 2.5 inches for a variance of 78 feet, 9.5 inches. And the side yard setback from the south side would be 27 feet, 3 inches for a variance of 72 feet, 9 inches. The ZBA hereby grants the requested variance hereby grants the requested variance for 3. There's another typo here. The ZBA hereby grants the required.
I think, Scott, that was just kind of keeping track of the number of variances, but we can take that out.
Yeah, I would take, how about, take that out. Just the ZBA hereby grants the requested variance for the front yard setback to be 55 feet, 5 inches for a requested variance of 94 feet, 7 inches. And, and 4, a variance for the allowable building coverage to be 1,770.75 square feet, requiring a variance of 607.75 square feet. The ZBA finds that the granting of these variances as amended grants a benefit to the applicant that outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. As discussed above, given the substandard size of the lot, its configuration and topography, the location of the new structure is appropriate. In addition, the proposed screening to the south side as well as the front of the structure will minimize any impact to the neighborhood. In order to be crystal clear, the board will allow the placement of the new structure 4 feet south of the original structure. And then I just went through accordingly the variances granted are, and went through the same thing with the side yard, front yard, and all that. The granting of the variances is expressly contingent upon the following. 1, that the construction of the single-family residence being conforming with all the plans presented to the board, with the exception that the proposed structure be set 4 feet south of the original footprint of the prior house as opposed to 8 feet. In particular, the screening to the south and front or west of the building must be built as proposed. If the planning board requires additional screening, the ZBA defers to any amendments as may be required by the planning board during its review. Given the complexity of the history of this application, the latest set of plans shall be attached to this resolution. And that deals with basically the screening. The granting, section 3, the granting of the variances shall also be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck for any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application, and in full compliance with Article 14 fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. The grant shall not be deemed valid until all such fees are paid in full by the applicant. The granting of these variances does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits and or approvals, and the variance shall be null and void unless construction is commenced within 1 year of the resolution. Chris, did you come up with any additional language for the discussion with the neighbors?
I have drafted up something if for the board's consideration. So this would be after number I guess it's the third to last sentence of the public hearing. So right now it reads, the public hearing was continued to June 16th, 2021 for review of the landscape and plans submitted. New sentence. And Chris, I can send this to you if the board agrees, so you don't have to.
Okay.
Philip DeBorgo and his wife attended this public hearing. They expressed overall appreciation of the fence and landscape. There were discussions between the neighbors and applicant as to possible fence color and tree height. The color was not finalized, but the applicant agreed to plant trees to be the same height or taller as the fence. No further substantial comments were received during the course of the public hearing. Accordingly, the public hearing was closed on June 16th, 2021.
Does that satisfy? I mean, we're attaching what Catherine provided to us and what we went over with these folks. So it's attached to the resolution. And I think that this thing is long enough without getting into more. That's just my feeling, but I defer to.
I don't think we can get into much more detail about the size of the plants, but what we're saying keeps it from being a 2-foot plant. So that's,
That's why I added the thing about the height with the taller, the same height as the fence or taller.
And the proposal was pretty clear as to what the fence would look like, its height, and what the plants would look like in their height and the length of it, the entire south side of the property and everything else. So I mean, to me, it was crystal clear. And anyway, any other comments, concerns? I apologize for the length of the thing, but.
Oh, that was a good job.
Well, it kind of had a tortured history, and you can thank Kim for helping me clean this thing up. All right. Since I haven't heard anything from anybody, I will make a motion that we accept the resolution as read with the amendments that Kim put together.
Second.
Second, that's Tim Econopoli. And Chris, would you do the honors, please?
Yeah. Tim Allenbrook,
Yeah.
Scott Bergen,
Yes, please.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
and Tim Econopoli.
Yes.
All right.
And Chris,
And-
I'll send you the edits tomorrow. if
Great,
that's
thank
okay.
you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, and the last resolution we have is on the Shapiro matter, and who would like to take that away?
I'll do that.
Okay,
Not going to be as long as yours, but
that's good.
okay. Resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of area variance application of Michael and Elizabeth Shapiro, ZBA case number 1013. Whereas, background, the applicant is Michael and Elizabeth Shapiro. The applicant is represented before this board by Stephen O'Brien, swimming pool contractor from Najam Pools. I hope I said that right. Najam Pools, and Eli Sands, landscape architect designer from Wagner Hodgins. 2, the property involved. This appeal involves property located at 57 Upper Hook Road, Town of Rhinebeck, and which bears the tax parcel number 1350-6171-00-290799-0000, RA10. The property has 2.37 acres. Description of proposed project. The applicant proposes to install a 10 by 40 in-ground gunite swimming pool with 48-inch tall cedar slotted fence and stone patio. The applicants are requesting a variance from zoning code section 125-27-A2-B and section 125-38-A. Section 125-27-A-2-B requires accessory structures to be set back a minimum of 75 feet from the side lot lines and a minimum of 45 feet from the rear lot line. Section 125-38-A restricts fence height to 6 feet maximum within the side or rear yard setback. The pool and its associated equipment are considered accessory structures, and the propane tank used for heating the pool is proposed to be built 40 feet from the side lot line and 33.5 feet from the rear lot line. In addition, a fence structure around the pool will be 8 feet tall, 8 feet in total height in certain spots when you include the 4-foot stone wall and 4-foot slotted cedar fence on 2 ends of the pool. In total, the applicant is requesting a variance of 35 feet for the side lot line and 11.5 feet for the rear setback and 2-foot fence height variance. Review. Timeliness of the appeal. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on March 2nd, 2021, and has paid the requested fee. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the date of the ZEO's determination, appealed from date January 26, 2021. And thus the application is timely as required by section 125-125B of the town Rhinebeck zoning law. This application was deemed complete and accepted by the board on April 21st, 2021. SECRA. This application was currently before the planning board for site plan approval. The planning board classified this project on May 17, 2021 as type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA. The ZBA accepts the planning board's classification that this action is a type 2 action and no further environmental review is required. Referral and responses. Pursuant to the General Municipal Law, Section 239-M, The application was referred to the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board on May 18th, 2021. Town of Rhinebeck Conservation Advisory Board, CAB, on April 27, 2021, and the Town of Rhinebeck Waterfront Advisory Committee, WAC, on May 3rd, 2021. Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board responded May 18th, 2021, finding the requested variances raise no significant planning or environmental concerns. CAB and WAC did not respond as 30 days have elapsed since the referral was sent. CMB and WAC, the ZBA may move for final decision without having received comments from CAB or WAC. Public hearing. A public hearing on this appeal was duly advertised and held on May 19th, 2021. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing was held virtually pursuant to New York State Executive Order 202.1, which suspended certain provisions of the open meetings law to allow a municipal board to convene meetings during the current pandemic via video conferencing and/or telephone conferencing. The public was thus afforded the opportunity to view and participate during this public hearing remotely. During the course of the public hearing, we received public comments from Jill Hill and Jennifer Leff from 64 Upper Hook Road and Barbara Stapleton from 46 Upper Hook Road. Neighbors requested extending the fence to completely enclose the pool equipment and propane tank, plus add additional screening vegetation. The applicant has made adjustments to the proposed project in response to the neighbors' comments, including adding flower and crab apples, Venowet, Saria, and mountain laurel along the property lines for further visual buffering. The public hearing was closed June 16, 2021. Site visit. On June 12, 2021, ZBA member Timothy Econopoulos visited the applicant's property and the surrounding neighborhood to observe firsthand on-site conditions, property characteristics, setting around environmental and character of the surrounding neighborhood. The surrounding area is a wooded residential area. With various accessory structures. No business or deliberations were conducted during the site visit. Findings of fact and conclusions of law. Balancing test. In our review of the variance sought, we have considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variances are granted, as weighed against the detriment to the health and safety and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. We determined that the variance requested should be granted because the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. Consideration of 5-factor imbalancing test. In our determination, we have considered the 5 factors required by section 125-124C1 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law as follows. If the variances are granted, will they cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find the answer to this question is no. The accessory structure, pool and associated equipment and fence is not viewable from Upper Hook Road, and with increased shrub plantings as requested by neighbor will block sight lines as drawn by Wagner Hodgson landscape architect, titled Pool Grading Plan. I do want to change this though. It's L100 and L200, received June 8th, 2021. Can the benefit be sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance? We find the answer to this question is yes. The pool could be located in other areas on the property, but to do so would require a lot of additional landscaping and fencing. In addition, the property has two major gardens that would have to be removed if the applicant were to relocate the pool site. The selected area of the property is a fitting location for the pool that will require less disturbance to the property and will also afford less visibility from Upper Hook Road and back neighbor. Excuse me. Is the requested area variance substantial? We find the answer to this question is yes. The requested variance will reduce the side lot line and rear setback by more than half of what is required. But for the reasons stated above, it's the best option and location for the pool. The fence variance is not substantial. Will the proposed variance have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find the answer to this question is no. As stated above, the accessory structure will not be viewable for Upper Hook Road and neighbors. Additionally, the proposed pool location will require less disturbance to the land as proposed than if it were to be relocated to another area of the property. Is the alleged difficulty self-created? We find the answer to this question is yes. The pool could be located on other portions of the property. However, if moved to other areas, it would require moving well-established gardens and trees, creating more disturbance to the property. Minimal variance requested. In addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing tests, we must also determine if this request variances are the minimum variance necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant. We find the answer to this question is yes. As stated above, the property site selection is the best location by reducing visibility from neighbors and Upper Hook Road and maintaining the property with the least disturbance. Now, therefore, it be resolved, based on all the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. The ZBA hereby grants the variance requested by the applicant, finding that the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. Section 2. The granting of these variances is expressly contingent upon the following. The following: landscaping plan by Wagner Hodgson Landscape Architect, pool grading plan, again, L100, L200, received on June 8th, 2021, be followed. Vegetation and trees as part of the landscaping plan will be maintained and kept in good condition. Section 3. The granting of these variances shall also be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application in full compliance with Article 14 fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. These variances shall not be deemed granted until such fees are paid in full by the applicant. The granting of these variances does not absolve the applicant of having to secure any other required permits and/or approvals. The proposed structures must be constructed in conformity with the application and plans submitted. Section 5. The area of variances shall be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced within 1 year of this resolution. Any questions or?
Nicely and succinctly done.
Very good.
I just wanted to point out, we did receive the WAC report late last night. They did say that they had no concerns because they thought everything would be concealed pretty much from Upper Hook Road.
Okay.
So I would just take out that last thing that said that the CA on the paragraph 6. I would recommend saying something like the CAB WAC responded on June 15th, 2021. They noted that the pool would be concealed from Upper Hook Road and found no concerns. Is that
You want me to
okay?
say that?
Better late than never, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, I have a copy. I can make that change if the
Yeah, no, I
board
saw it.
approves of it.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you very much.
And then this is just on number 3. Just for clarity, I think that for the rear yard setback, the 33.5 feet is measured from the pool, not for the propane. So I would just say, and the again, if the board agrees with this, I can just make this edit and send it to Chris. So say the pool and associated equipment are considered accessory structures, and the propane tank used for heating the pool is proposed to be built 40 feet from the side lot line. And I would suggest inserting the pool is proposed 33.5 feet from the rear lot line, just for clarity. I believe that is how the plans were done.
That's fine by me.
And my only question to Tim, I know for the Whitman application, we had for reference included the landscape plan. Would you like to add that to this resolution as well, since?
Yeah, I think that was one of the main points of discussion from last meeting. So I think if it's included, that would be fine. That would be
I like that. So there's no ambiguity.
Okay, so for section 2, I can just, when I make the edits, I can just say a copy of these plans is attached for reference.
Got a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept this, accept the, I guess the resolution as written, plus Kimberly's additions.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
Chris?
Scott Bergen,
Yes.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Tim Econopoli,
Yes.
and Tim Albrook.
Yep.
All right, great. Good job, Tim.
Yeah.
All right, we have one last matter, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to take a look at it. And basically what it deals with is the fees that are being charged for escrow. What's happening is the current fee structure is $500 for area variances and use variances. And what we're finding, and this is kind of evolving over time because, the escrow procedure, I think, has only been in existence for a couple of years, is that Chris has had to go back to people probably more often than not for additional escrow monies. It just takes that much, time and effort to do a good and thorough job and review of these matters. So the thought was, instead of Chris having to go back and replenish the pot, so to speak, just make the deposit a little higher. And then, obviously, if there's monies left over, you return them back to the applicant. But at least Chris doesn't have to keep, going back to folks saying the 500 is gone and we need an extra 100 or 200 or whatever it is. So it's to make Chris's life a little easier. And I just think it makes some sense. Does anybody have any discussion or feeling about that? Maybe Kim, I don't know if you want to pipe up or Chris.
Derek, what's the escrow go towards? I mean, what does that go towards?
So the escrow goes toward, so the New York state law and the town of Rhinebeck law authorizes the zoning board to have consultants to assist them with the review. So the escrow amount goes towards legal fees from Grant Alliance, and also the planning board consultant for when we refer it to planning board, and the planning board gives us their review of the application. So that's what the escrow amount goes towards.
And I got to tell you, having been on the board for 1,000 years, and before we had professional help, so to speak, This is money well spent. I mean, and it's not a lot of money for the quality and amount of time we're getting reviewing these applications. It makes doing the resolutions so much easier, and I think coming to a better decisions, and it just, we're serving the public much better by having Kim and John and other professionals assisting us as we review these applications. So the resolution that was provided is seeking to change the number from 500 to 800. And that should probably cover most, if not all, of the applications. The big ones are going to be more. That's just the nature of the beast. But for most of these things, I think the 800 is going to be sufficient.
And Scott, just for the boards, Chris and I worked on this a little bit. Chris obviously is the one who's very familiar with this issue, and Chris that was kind of like the estimated average for what the total amount is. So our hope is that this will kind of be able to cover everything from submission to resolution. And again, that Chris did a lot of work to kind of figure out like what the appropriate amount was, what the average was. And that was the number that we came up with. Again, with the planning consultant's review as well, it kind of takes a little bit away from the review's total, or adds a little bit more to the review total.
But basically, if I understood you correctly, Scott, if someone pays the 800 fee and they really don't, it's a pretty simple application, they may get $600 back. If someone pays the $800 fee and it takes a lot more work, they're going to still pay more. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah,
But the average, I mean,
yeah.
but we shouldn't anticipate that people are going to be getting a whole lot of money back based on the.
No, I mean, a basic review, I think, is going to take, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but the hourly rate that's being charged by our council to me is criminal. I mean, it is so low. It is unbelievable for, the quality of lawyers that we have. We're getting a bargain, or really the public's getting a bargain on this. And, but even at the, the very, very reduced hourly rates that they charge, you're probably looking at at least $500. That's probably a minimum, I would say. But as you said, there are going to be occasions, and that's fine. It's good that they pay the 800, it costs 600, and we give them $200 back, and that's great. But the problem is we're having a substantial amount of these applications where Chris has to go back and say, hey, listen, the 500 has been chewed up, and we need $200 or $300 more, or whatever she asked for. And so it's more time out of her day. And
well, it's also, the more we have to go back to people, the more distressed they are by the whole process, so
right.
I think it's better to have a higher number up front, and, it gives people a better sense of what they're getting into.
Yes.
Rather than feel like there's hidden costs down the road that they didn't know about.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're asking for a variance, and a variance is they're asking for a variance from the law. Say, hey, in this instance, I need some kind of special consideration, and that requires, some legal effort and other effort. I will tell you, the quality of the resolutions and the decisions from, say, 10 or 15 years ago, and I'm not disparaging what was done back then, but compared to now, you can't compare. I mean, the level of resolution is so much better now, and the level of analysis is so much better now. It's really something. So anyway, I think it's money. It's easy for me to say, since I'm not having to come up with the $800, and we're sensitive to the costs, but if people want to do these things, there's a cost associated with it. Anyway, so I don't know, does anybody get a chance to look at the resolution that was supplied for our consideration? I was going to read it and then we could vote on it. But before we do that, any more discussion or questions or concerns? We don't do this lightly, by the way. It's just become a problem.
Who was
Chris,
that?
do you wanna-
Who was that sent from, the resolution? Is that from you, Chris?
No, Kim and John.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've been in communications with Scott and Chris, and based on, what we've heard, we did draft this resolution. And the way that the current fee schedule is set up, it does say that the initial escrow amount is $500 or more per the ZBA. So we just thought it was just more transparent to just, rather than all of a sudden applicants are asking to provide more money, we just thought it was a nicer transparency and open governance to just kind of lay out the reasoning as to why we're making this request, even though it is authorized by the fee schedule. And the other thing too, just for further information, and Chris can chime in if she wants, but when the applicants are given their application, when they first speak to Chris, they are provided a copy of the escrow law and the local law too, which sets forth the reasoning as to kind of like what I had said earlier, that it is authorized by state and local government to request the applicants provide this escrow payments for consultant fees. And it also lays out that the reasoning for that is so that the town doesn't have that as an additional cost that has to be assessed to other property owners.
anyway, it sounds like not everybody got a copy of the resolution. Was it just sent to me or?
I did circulate it to everybody.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah.
Do we need to officially read it in? Can we?
Yes, yeah,
vote on it?
yeah, I'll read it in. It's short. I promise you,
Okay.
not like the last thing I did. It's short and I didn't write it either, so it's going to be short and it's going to be sweet and it's going to be
Well,
good.
that's not a guarantee from us, but we had to just given what we had talked about, Scott, you can either read the full thing. The whereas clause just kind of pretty much sets forth everything Scott explained. So Scott, you can either read the full resolution. If you want, you can just read the end.
Now,
part of it.
therefore, be it resolved.
Yeah, because again, it just kind of
Okay.
it just goes through, just puts into writing what we had just discussed as to the reasoning and rationale.
Yeah, and it talks about the authority and this, that, and the other thing. So, all right, so I'll make it really short. Now, therefore, be it resolved based on all the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. Section 1, the ZBA hereby recommends that the initial escrow deposit be raised to $800 to be collected at the time the application for an area variance or use variance is submitted. Section 2, the ZBA hereby directs that the area variance application and the use area application be amended to reflect this change in initial escrow deposited, or is it deposit or deposit requested?
Probably deposit singular.
Yes, so take out the old ED. Okay, deposit requested. And then 3, the ZBA hereby directs the ZBA secretary to begin collecting the increased initial escrow deposit for all area variance and use variance applications. Should we throw in something like that for all area variance and use variance applications submitted from the date of this resolution? And I know we've had discussion. Any further discussion, questions, concerns? I mean, you hate to raise fees, but it's just a matter. This is what it costs to do a good job. So, all right, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution. And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I guess that was Tim Allenbrook.
Yep.
And Chris, would you do the honors?
Yes, Scott Bergen,
Yes.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Tim Mecanopoli,
Yes.
Tim Allenbrook.
Yep.
All right, gang, I think that's all we have tonight, unless somebody has anything else.
No,
I'm gonna, I'll get Chris those edits from the resolutions that we discussed sometime tomorrow.
And
Great.
by the way, Kim, I just want to let you know that you officially lost the bet tonight.
I know,
And
sadly.
yes, yes.
By a long shot.
We both did, yeah. Anyway.
Hey, Chris, do you want to give me a call tomorrow and we'll go over any outstanding details on the minutes?
Sure.
Because we didn't quite make it. That's my fault. But I think it's going to be pretty spot on now that everything's decided. And on the Baker resolution, I will put a draft of that out within a week or something, or I guess I'd like to see the plans that they submit. We didn't give them a deadline, did we?
Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, no, I mean, Chris can give them the deadline. I think isn't there typically a deadline of, 2 weeks before or a week before or something like that?
Yes.
I know the
Okay.
last submission from Baker, they were pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we also need to reiterate that that letter from him is going to be important, or do we still feel that? A letter from Mr. Baker about cleaning up the property?
Oh, no, that we want that. I mean, I want that yeah,
I'll put that in the resolution.
yeah.
That's one of the
Yeah,
contingencies at the end.
yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll receive it before. I think that's part of the things that we've requested. If I would say that if he doesn't submit that, or if Chris reaches out to say, this is the deadline, maybe provide him a list of what needs to
Yes,
be done.
that's the best way to do it. Give them a deadline of the 3 items or whatever it is.
Sounds
All
good.
right, gang, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Anybody else had enough?
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
You want to do this in person next month?
It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. All right, everybody, hang in there, and we'll see you in a month.
Dion, have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor, aye.
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 We're getting ready for next week or for next month. All right, gang, have a good night.